Hope you're having a great week. As we continue our mini messages, we're going to just look at one verse today, the last verse in Genesis chapter 37, and that is verse 36. And it says there, meanwhile, the Midianites sold Joseph in Egypt to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard. So Joseph has been sold into slavery by his own brothers. He is taken to Egypt and sold to Potiphar. He was the captain of the guard for Pharaoh. He was the head of the secret service for Pharaoh. That would be the best way for us to understand it in our culture. He was an important guy. He had, constant access to Pharaoh. He would have been a very wealthy and influential person. And so Joseph here is maneuvered into this place. You see, God in this is playing the long game. You know, we move moment to moment, step by step many times. We don't think ahead. God is always thinking ahead. He's looking ahead. He sees across time. He sees across history. And so what Joseph's brothers intended for evil, God is actually taking that and using it for good, because God understands that years from now there would be a famine and that the family of Jacob would be without food. And He's even now, by positioning Joseph where he's at, He's eventually going to supply him with food. So our deceit, our sin, so many times God uses it to move His purposes. God uses it to grow us, to even change us. He's not the author of it. He doesn't endorse it. But we live in a world that is full of sin because man rejected God. We're in rebellion. And because we do have free will and we can choose against Him, that opens the door for that sin. But God is sovereign, and even in the middle of that sin, He will still bring His overall purposes. I mean, when we think about this, if Joseph's brothers had never sold him to the Midianites, he never goes to Egypt. If he never goes to Egypt, he's never sold to Potiphar. If he's never sold to Potiphar, he's never accused of rape. He's never put in prison. He's never then given the opportunity to stand in front of Pharaoh and interpret Pharaoh's dreams. If he never interprets the dreams, he's never put in charge. If he's never put in charge, he can't store up the food that's needed for Egypt and the surrounding countries during this time. And if he doesn't do that, his own family starves to death. God had a plan. What man intended for evil, God used for His own good. So understand that. Remember that even in darkness, even when we're struggling, even when we're going through a trial, maybe when someone has done something to us, maybe when somebody has sinned against us, understand that God can take even those things and maneuver them and use them to bring about His purposes. It's comforting to know we serve a God that ultimately is absolutely 100% in control. And with that being said, we're going to wrap up for the day, and we'll see you again real soon.